I think if I'm being honest, I don't remember exactly the title. It's Digital Whiteboards and the Faculty That Refuse to Use Them, I believe is the title. Um, so that's, kind of what we're talking about. I think we expanded a little bit more to kind of talk about, why we want to use digital whiteboards, kind of the inequity that whiteboards, chalkboards kind of pose, and then get into, kind of strategies on how we can talk to faculty to use them and the importance of using them, the advantage of using them, over a standard whiteboard and the kind of the things you can do with light boards and interactive whiteboards and things like that. And if there's time, we'll talk about maybe a little bit about, what we can do with that space that we get at the front of the room when the whiteboards and chalkboards go away, and how we can change kind of the classroom, kind of move away from that projector and screen model to some other kind of fun displays and things like that, if possible. So, kind of get started. I think everybody mostly knows me, but Troy Powers. I'm at Northwestern University, and I'm also the vice chair here at HETMA. And we'll go ahead and get started with some introductions. But these wonderful folks. So John, I don't think you've been on a HETMA panel before, but I know you're quite familiar with this topic on panels. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I know a few faces, but I am John Douglas from Prairie View A&M University. I serve now as the IT specialist, recently the IT manager for AV. However, while the title have changed, the role is still the same and responsibilities. So I have been here at Prairie View for 6 years. I am the first AV manager for the university that was hired right before COVID. My team and I have been setting the standard for AV across campus. We've raised the standard. We've been able to address multiple issues as well as lower the response time for tickets and support calls. So I am John Douglas from Purview. Great to be here.
Right on. Thanks so much. And Andy, our communications chair, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know what you're doing with yourself these days?
Hey, Troy, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm Andy Vogel with the Ohio State University. I'm an instructional designer, but also have had a career in AV. So I've had a lot of, wins and losses with interactive whiteboards, whether it's digital, physical. So happy to talk about that. And yeah, I'm with the College of Engineering at Ohio State. So we have a video studio where we utilize the whiteboard, and I can talk about the recent fun air quote we've had with that and some of the wins and losses with it.
Right on. Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us today. So like I said, we'll get started. Just maybe let's thinking about whiteboards and chalkboards at the front of the classroom and kind of just the inequities that can create with, visibility issues, distance, angle from the classroom, all the rooms have come in different shapes and sizes. And we've all seen those rooms where, the room in the back doesn't have an angle to see the screen, let alone the whiteboard, right? So just talk to me a little bit about, how that kind of affects the classroom. And we haven't really seen a lawsuit, I guess, at this point, regarding that. And I imagine it's coming at some point. So just talk to me a little bit about that. Andy, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, sure. So first thing I think of is the Title II stuff. So, being a big public university, we're subjected to that this April, actually. And I can post the link later, but Title II is just basically all the accessibility laws, not just digital accessibility, but that's the big emphasis right now. So it's making everything accessible, and whiteboards, chalkboards, whatever, are any exception from it. Not only just like the physical installation of it, but as we record more media, and especially with faculty, whether it's an engineering course, literature course with their handwriting and that sort of thing, and recording that all has to be annotated and transcribed and things like that. So we've been looking at so many different solutions. Like I said earlier, we have a light board in our video studio. Challenges with that is, we want faculty to come into our place and not use the classroom actually, so we can, control the environment. But if anyone's used the light board, you know that cleaning it between takes is time consuming. It's not just an instant, wax on, wax off experience. It's very, a little time consuming. So when faculty are in the flow of things, it interrupts their flow. So trying to have those wins there and, share that knowledge to them, like this is going to be, not just like your regular, you're going to go lecture for an hour or something. This might take you a couple hours to do this. And that can be a hard sell to them.
And yeah, absolutely. John, what do you think?
It varies. It really all depends on the end user, and how it's being used. A lot of times we look at things of this is a great new technology. Let's get it in. It can do this and this and this and this and this. But then when the end user has not had any training or experience on it, or even if they have used it for 2 or 3 times, they're still not comfortable. Why? Because we have a lot of instructors that are used to whiteboards where they can move at their own pace, doing what they do. If you get the notes on the board, you get it. If not, your fault, moving on. So they are trained, or excuse me, they are conditioned to operate a certain way. And with this new platform, we're providing another avenue for operating and how to learn, how to teach. And guess what? With this, you don't have to erase it. Just move it over and keep going. And then after everything, guess what? You can share this entire document with everybody. So it's the end user. It is making sure that we are communicating and training the end users on the functionality of it.
Absolutely. And I love how you point out, the differences in the way you can save and share notes. It's been studied, and I want to say it's been proven pretty definitively that a more engaged student, has a better learning outcome. So, let's talk a little bit
That's
about
the biggest
how,
thing, Troy.
absolutely, yeah.
That's
So,
the biggest thing because the engagement now is going much higher than previously. Majority of the times when the instructors are at the boards, whiteboard or chalkboard, their back is turned. They're really not engaging. They're lecturing at this point in time, and now you have a disconnect. However, when you talk about these type of boards, now we're able to bring multiple people up to the class, to the front of the classroom, and now let's, as a team or as individuals, work this issue out, whatever the issue is. Now we have more engagement. Now we have some type of competition going on. And now we have more people who want to come up and want to be a part of that act. But when we have those that are not comfortable with it, we still have instructors that do not want to use Zoom. They don't want to use Teams. They want to stay away from the new technology. It's a matter of bringing them in and allowing them to get familiar and comfortable with that.
absolutely. And when the faculty push back against the kind of the digital technology and the sharing of those notes and suggest that they want the student to just take notes instead, how do we push back against that? I hear that a lot at my own university, and they feel the same way
Yeah,
about lecture capture, right? Well,
yeah.
they should just pay attention in class and take notes. If they're taking notes, they're not engaged in the discussion, right? So how do we push back against faculty who want them, taking notes and are against like that share feature?
I think if I can answer this, it's a reframing of like the modality, right? It's
Right.
like we don't care what tool to use. It's kind of going back to like Lisa's talk about universal design for learning. It's adding a plus one type of assignment or adding more of that flexibility. So like in the class I teach, I have chalkboards and stuff. I never use them. I use the projector and then I have them do group work in small groups and turn the chairs and stuff and try to make it as flexible as possible. And I think it's because, with my industry experience, I know I need to make this accessible. If I start introducing the chalkboard and stuff, that's more points of failure, right? So trying to have all these digital tools, but I have industry experience. That's why I know that. No, very rarely do faculty get trained to be faculty, right? They're subject matter experts in whatever their field is, so they're kind of thrown to the fire. So the biggest challenge we have is just advocacy and training. So like, I'll admit I took out a lot of our interactive whiteboards because of the usage issue, and we moved more to the like wireless casting and using digital whiteboards like John was talking about with Zoom and other things. And, pros and cons to both things there. But the idea was like, we're very much bring your own device. They're going to use a Mac, Lenovo, whatever, throw your Linux, that sort of thing. So it's like instead of trying to like figure out, okay, does that work with, the local hardware? Let's figure out their hardware and their flexibility. And that's how you can kind of get that advocacy argument and that universal design for learning, just kind of reframing it. And there's one last thing I'll just add is just, the challenge is incentivizing, right? Like having events on campus, having things where, you want to partner with the faculty. That's the biggest thing because some people are going to have to drag, maybe, maybe. And other folks, though, I think the more you find those champions that be like, hey, look at my student evaluations, we tried this and we used this tool, whatever it is, and that contributed to that. So it's a lot of work for an AV person. So that's where I say, like, utilize your center for teaching or what have you on campus and have that relationship building.
Hey, Andy, one of the things that I've done a little different is I've taken myself out of the position of what I think is best in the classroom. And one year I was able to get I partnered with five of our partners, and we did what we call an interactive shootout, Texas style, of course. And what that experience allowed several instructors, even the students plus staff, to come and test out five different whiteboards that they can come put their hands on, speak with the manufacturer. And one of the things that I did different in this session was I told the manufacturers, we're not selling anything. Do not sell. Allow the end users to come in, touch, feel, play, talk about the perks of having it, and the flexibility of it. Now, after the instructors and the students came in, they checked everything, they played with everything. I had them to fill out a survey. Because of that survey, that communicated to us and my team what they preferred. So we got them to buy in. Once we got the buy-in from the campus, now it was an easier rollout to establish these new units across campus, especially with certain departments. For example, math department will love them. Architecture departments, some engineering classes will love them. I do not believe it is for every discipline, but there are some of the disciplines that this is ideal for. So when you get that buy-in from those departments, and as you shared, when you partner with them, they'll be able to lean on you more as the advisor, and then you can move forward with those type of projects. But that's one of the ways that I was able to bring in those faculty, those students, get them to buy into where we're going. Because one of the things that we definitely want to make sure is that we do not want the high schools to have more technology than they have on college campus. We have to at least meet them right where they are and then take them to the next level. But we have to first meet them right there.
I love that. That's like you did your own approval program on campus. Like that's great. It's like you could even have a white paper about that. Like, that's awesome, man. I would love to like
Thank
see
you.
the data on that. Um, I think that's great, and that's the challenge, right? Is getting the folks together. And it sounds like you're being that leader and like having your folks. I know for some that's like a scary ask, like being on a tech committee and other things, because you don't want it to turn into the problem committee, but you found a way and made a positive out of it.
Well, the secret to it is one thing. Everybody loves free food, right?
Yeah,
Lunch
There
and
you go.
learn.
there you go.
Lunch and learn. Come have lunch on us, learn about new technology. What do you think? Let me hear from you. because that way we're not shoving anything down your throat. You're coming, you're experiencing. Now you're excited about this. Now you can go back to your department and say, hey, this team showed us this and this and this. We are excited. What can we do? How can we get this into our classrooms? And okay, if the department's not able to do it, let's go to the provost. Provost, how can we get this? When the provost hears from the faculty and students, money somehow
It's
appears.
that magic bucket.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Most definitely.
Um, So, I mean, we've talked about how both of your campuses have kind of moved towards interactive whiteboards, light boards, things like that. Um, one of the kind of common complaints you'll hear, or common reasons to not move in that direction, is failure, right? My whiteboard doesn't fail, right? Maybe the marker dries up, but I can just open a new marker. Have you experienced much failure? Are the failures, predictable? How much time, goes into maintaining, proactive or reactive maintenance on them? Like what's the investment? And do you feel like you're getting a better return on that investment?
I think like for it's looking at, a step back at like, we had an active learning program classroom where we would put that type of technology in there. And we at the time would I was actually the one who scheduled people in there. And so we would have that, that first, pass of like, hey, this is what is going to be in here. This isn't like your traditional room. And the idea of being scheduled in this room is so you have the advantage here. And that helps, but not to just plug my own position, but they really need to go through a course design with instructional design to like completely redo their class. They need that attention to detail because it's helpful to do like some one-off lessons like that, but if they fully want to use the technology in there, whatever the tool is, they really need to kind of sit with somebody and have the whole semester mapped out. It's just like I think it sets them up for failure if we don't have that ability. I know it's like, again, you're not going to get everyone on board right away. It's those champion faculty that can say, hey, I talked to Andy or I talked to John, and like, they helped me flip my classroom. And by doing that, maybe I didn't use the interactive whiteboard every day, but I used it once a week. And, students are supposed to do their reading or something, and then they come in and then they use the interactive tools. I think having those conversations and it's like a strategic plan, right? It's like, okay, every year we're going to try to onboard a couple faculty or flip their classroom. If we can give them free food, that's even better.
We took a different approach. When I first arrived in 2020, there was a contract worker that was coming in supporting AV across the entire campus. Uh, by the end of 2020, there were four of us. It was a total of four, with three new hires, including myself. And one of the things that I noticed, my background is multimedia, video production, broadcast. Was we didn't there was no documentation of trainings. So I produced a training video. And once we produced a training video, we were able to share that training video out to the faculty. After that, after we did the training video, we started making ourselves available and scheduling time with these departments to go into a classroom and to go through the functionality of their classrooms. Now, for us, it was a bit easy because we have one model across the campus. There's some variations to the standard, but we have one standard across campus. So we were able to meet with these departments, have 10 or 15 people, faculty members to come in and say, hey, this is how you do it. All right. I'm going to step back. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to allow you to get behind the podium. Now, as you're teaching, this is what needs to happen. You could do this, you could do this. As a matter of fact, before we meet for training, I need you to complete this viewing this training video. Once you complete this training video, then we will schedule the training in person. We will review, answer any questions because we approach that matter in that way, well, the calls dropped. The request for support dropped. because now the faculty felt comfortable. The faculty knew that if they called us, we were going to be there within 7 to 10 minutes. So because we did that, now the other part was that the team needed training. We needed to find a platform that would be stable, that did not give several problems that others may give. And is this a fully functional platform or is this a partial platform? That's another conversation. Do we want a platform that's just a digital whiteboard, or do we want a platform that's a digital whiteboard and casting with the onboard PC and this and that? What is the purpose? What is the functionality? And for this campus, it worked out great because one, it allowed the AV team to know the faculty and for the faculty to know us. Because we were able to create that training environment in their rooms where they were comfortable, now they started trusting us. And because they trusted us, now they feel more comfortable with using the technology at that point in time. So that was one major way that we approached this um, for in COVID and when students start returning after COVID.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, what you said about the faculty gaining confidence, I think that's so much of one of the best ways to reduce support tickets is to give the faculty confidence in what they're doing. None of our systems are generally that complicated, right? And it's that lack of confidence that they have. You know, they don't understand them totally, but and so they're not confident and they fumble around. And yeah, just increasing their confidence really goes a long way in reducing the number of support tickets you have to deal with. Um, Britt asked, so it looks like, has been trying to get digital whiteboards out there and is running into some trouble with faculty not understanding how to save correctly and losing their
Mm.
files. What has helped with teaching the faculty that for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like every tool, right? Like it's just making sure they sign in to the right thing. And, we have the problem of too many tools. So we have Google, we have Microsoft and things like that. I mean, even my students and staff struggle with this. It's like having that literature documentation of, I know it sounds so redundant and boring, but sign in, make sure you're signed in. We call it name dot number with us, but that's the biggest piece. And then like it just depends on the tool because I know there's some of those are proprietary where it's like the tool if you do it in the classroom and then send it to another computer, you have to install the software driver to use their ink. I really don't like that style. I rather just open up Adobe inside that program or whatever it is and use the annotation that's going to save to the document. Um, if you can get them to just open it up in their LMS and your LMS has a whiteboard, that way it backs it up and saves it. Just so basically, really, I'm just saying move it to the cloud and move it to someone who's already figured out the annotation piece, whether it's Microsoft Word or that sort of thing. So I know not the best answer, Britt, but that's kind of how we've worked around it.
We've had some success with OneDrive, and we've made sure to communicate to all of our faculty and staff to go ahead and to sign to OneDrive. Wherever you go and log in across campus, it is there. Now, for Brit, it depends on your platform. The platform of the digital whiteboard. There are some digital whiteboards that has a NFC card where you can go and log in for that particular user or some type of login for that user, and their profile will come up. When their profile comes up, now everything is saved to their profile. That's one of the things that I liked about the platform that the faculty chose here at Prairie View, is that we can create individual logins as well as associate those logins. I'm sorry, connect those logins to our SSO. So now when they log in, everything is connected. They can pull up their files, they can share their files, they can save them and things of that nature. So I would say look at what platform you want to go with. Look at those flexibilities. Every digital whiteboard does not have that functionality. Um, so yeah.
Right on. So, we've talked a little bit about, resistance from faculty, from these new kind of technologies. Um, and you guys, seem to have, had successful implementation. So how are you able to kind of reduce their fear, build that trust needed to kind of be okay with that change and maybe, give them the confidence to be able to use the new technology successfully?
Yeah, I think it's just offering the white glove treatment, meeting them at
Yeah,
class, meeting them
yeah,
before class, and just having that almost to a point of nagging that you're there. And,
yeah,
whether you're sending a student, a tech, whatever the thing is, just being available. And then like our department, we have like coffee chats that's ran by faculty for teaching. And sometimes I'll be there. I won't be leading, but I might just be there for questions. So having those opportunities like that visibility, that not only helps with like, why your job is relevant, but it just also builds those relationship connections. Because there's going to be times when I know I screw up and I didn't explain the tool right and that sort of thing. But as long if they know me, then they can at least email me, send me a Teams message, and then like it's not just another ticket.
Andy hit the nail on the head. White glove service is ideal. One of the, well, my scene and our department's theme here at Purview is we will meet you where you are. And that's what we do. We take the technology, we'll find out your level, and we will make it applicable to where you are while elevating you to feel comfortable with using it. Now, you may not feel comfortable the first two or three times. We understand that. So we do not mind being there the first two or three times. But about the fifth or sixth time, it's yours. As a matter of fact, um, when do you have time to sit and talk? Okay. The classroom is open at this time. Let's meet in there. Let's go and talk. As a matter of fact, let's play tic-tac-toe. Come on. Who's going to win? Because we're engaging, because I am approaching you at your level, not looking down on you, not talking down on you, but talking to you where you are, so that you know that I'm respecting your place. While you may have a PhD in this. That's fine. My job is to make you comfortable so that when you walk into this classroom or this auditorium, you feel confident where you can now focus on the lesson that is supposed to be taught, not on the operations of the technology. I want to be an asset, not a distraction. The technology should be an asset, not a failure point. So let's keep it simple. Let's make sure anybody can walk in and do it. We think that just because the student can walk in and do it, that is easy for everybody. I would say that that is a bad mindset to have, because the ones that are using it are majority of the faculty. The students are using it, but the majority that's there are the ones that's teaching. So we need to make sure that they are more comfortable than anybody else. Students have used this in high school. So when they walk up to it, for them, it's just a huge iPad. Let's go. A huge tablet. It's the same application, same mindset. However, I have a faculty member here who has been here for over 55 years. She has been teaching in the College of Education for 55 years. I've had to sit with her and go over how to use an interactive whiteboard, and she loves it. But that's because we took the time to sit with her. So our thing will meet you where you are. And I think that approach helps across the board.
Absolutely. Yeah. We take a similar approach at Northwestern where, if the faculty are having a problem, I'm going to meet them in the classroom before their class, help make sure they're situated and take care of them there, and happy to meet them at any time. The classroom's open, during the school year before it. And that really helps. It helps to build trust between, like that team, the support team and the faculty too. And I think I've said many times, business, it's all about relationships, and it's the same
Yeah,
here, right? You
yeah,
build those relationships, then you have, and the chat's talking about using tech champions, your faculty tech champions, right, as assets. Absolutely. build those relationships with everyone because like that's how you're gonna kind of get gain the trust for them to kind of be willing to make those changes and be open to those changes that you're suggesting, because they believe you have their best interest at heart, right? And it's so important. I love that everybody's just kind of echoing the same thing here in the chat and on the panel.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to add, you just kind of reminded me, is that we filmed one of our faculty doing the light board for like it was basically an alumni talk for donors and alumni, and it was went really well. And in doing so, other faculty have seen it and has come to us and be like, how do we do that? We want to do that. We want to capture that. So we've actually turned that almost into an advertisement for our department, like almost like a be reel of like, here's the ETS studio and here's the various modalities or things we can do. And so like I see, question in there, like, it's like not wanting to overstep the instructional technology and with the tools and things. I would say like when you're doing an intake and things, I don't think you're overstepping or I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but like that feeling of clashing. And I think it's just like a lot of these folks are educators and they want to improve their craft. Some of them, are researchers and it's like, hey, this is just, my 20%, whatever. Okay, fine. But the folks that show up, again, it's just those are the faculty champions and those are the people that, they're going to walk with you. And the other ones we got to drag a little bit. But um, continuing to have those conversations. And I've learned so much from the engineers because like they will tell me things and they're a little dangerous too because they like to take things apart and do stuff and they usually call me after they've tried to diagnose it and just test things. But it's having that good relationship and looking at, okay, what worked for you last semester? We'll try this. And there's times where we completely missed the mark. It did not work. We introduced a tool. Students thought it was confusing. They didn't like it. So we went backwards. It's just I think it's just, not getting married to the tool and just like again, not to be redundant, but it's that relationship with the faculty, figuring out what works for their modality, what works for their subject. Is it more, equations and drawing and writing? They're gonna love these types of tools. But if it's more
And
text-based,
yeah. Andy, I love something you shared, and it pricks my broadcast production mindset. And I think we're as a tech mindset or tech team, tech department, we're missing out on one crucial communication, and that is digital signage, commercials. If we create or produce a 30-second video showing how technology can be used and how faculty is using them and how students are using them, that can easily get those to come in, like Andy has experienced, to get those instructors and faculty to buy in and to bring them in. And once that influx come in, we have to make sure we have to set up a schedule to meet with everybody and get everybody in and train, or just do two or three massive trainings. But let's use what you already have on campus. Majority of campuses have digital signage. Majority of campuses have some type of production team that does training, training videos, or a communications department that needs some projects. Guess what? Leverage what you have on your campus to shoot a promo video of, hey, we're the tech team. I'm so and so. I'm so and so. We support this. If you have any problems, call us up. It could be a cheesy Ghostbusters commercial from back in the day,
yeah.
but look at that. That is something that can be done. It may take a week to think about. It may take a day or two to shoot it, but that's something that we can all do during spring break or something when we're not fixing stuff, and produce a video where we are communicating with the faculty, communicating with the students, putting ourselves out there where they see us as not firefighters but as trusted advisors that they can lean on and depend on, and that when they call, we will answer.
I like that, John. And if I could piggyback real quick, also if you're just starting, it's okay to do something like a screencast and start out like that. I say this to my faculty all the time. It's like we could start out small, and and as staff, we could start out small. It's like we could just do a screencast training of how to use it. And then as we go on the next semester, maybe we have more time in the summer or whatever the break is, then we go get those production values. We do it in the booth that where John's at and get that good sound and that sort of thing, that great voiceover. So that's the big thing too. Is like, you know, every class, if you're teaching back to back classes, you're going to change it up somehow. You might not think you are, but they are going to in some way. So that's the same way with our media, right? It's like we make these training videos. It doesn't mean it has to be the same training video forever. It really shouldn't be. But it's like that whole idea of like, we're constantly doing that continual improvement. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe a little bit off topic, but I really like the question, so I'm going to ask it anyway. And this probably a little bit more for you, Andy. This is from Lyle. How does our job as technology advocates clash with teaching, learning, and instructional design? Are we missing anything on the teaching side that we ought to understand or know to better provide our technology advising and technology support?
Yeah, I would say it's the biggest thing is just trying to get into the room, and that's with faculty during those teaching and learning sessions, whether it's like a universal design for learning and looking at those frameworks. I look at a lot at like, Bloom's taxonomy and things like that. And like by no means am I like, do I memorize these things, but it gives me that common vocabulary. So it's like, we can talk shop here about AV, things like that. But having that common vocabulary with the faculty of different teaching modalities, especially to some of your junior faculty, because they might not even know that stuff either. They're kind of thrown in the fire, right? And so I think that's where it's kind of just helpful. So seeing it, if there's that, I think John said like this, Center for Excellence or Center for Teaching type of place. If there's things there, I know a lot of times they gear that for faculty, but staff just sign up. Like I signed up for one in engineer. I'm not an engineer. My background's education. Like I couldn't tell you anything about equations or aviation stuff, things like that. But I just went to those meetings and got to know people and just talk. And that has helped a lot with course development design. Now I kind of know some of the language they're speaking. And then doing that, we've actually gotten grants and funding through those channels. So it opens up doors in many different ways.
I think something that can be added to that is a lot of the faculty do not know what is all available in the class.
Yes. Yes.
And then once they are introduced to what is available and the flexibility, I think having someone like my team work with someone like Andy in that department, we can team up and we can run this campus where we are partnering together and not working against each other. We currently have that team here on PV's campus. And we work hand in hand with event support and things of that nature. However, just imagine if we teamed up to assist faculty in their course design, that'll be amazing. So that way we're able to go to the registrar and say, hey, this faculty member needs to be in this room, in this building for these classes. Hey, this instructor can be here because they're using this technology. We can really help shape how those classes are being used, classrooms are being used for the right classes and right purposes.
I think another note too that's really helpful too is like, whether you're a centralized or decentralized campus, is talking to your other colleagues and seeing what works for them and what, doesn't. Like we'll have folks that use a certain lecture capture tool and then set different than what Central's providing. Okay, let's go figure out why that is. Oh, it's because the College of Nursing, they really need this feature. And it's like maybe a feature that College of Ed doesn't use. Okay, so there's going to be a different of standard, which I know we don't like, but the reality, at least for my campus, is that's what we see. And as long as we can talk to it and understand, those different domains, that helps, well, again, talking about, the the different clash, I think was the word, between the instructional technologies.
I think it's important just to jump on what you said. It's important to remember that standards are very important in what we do to kind of reduce cost and maintain consistency. Um, but the standards have to be a little fluid because if there are different needs or if needs evolve or change, you've got to be willing to make changes to those standards, or you're really going to hamstring the faculty.
Right, right. Like, hey, I don't support that. Sorry.
So, I mean,
Wow.
we've talked about how you guys have moved on to things. One kind of question that always is difficult is when to move on from the old stuff, right? So, did when you
Mm.
guys kind of moved on with your interactive whiteboards, are there whiteboards still in the classrooms, or did you remove them all? If you didn't remove them all, are there plans to do that? And like, how long? With whiteboards, but just in general, do you think legacy options? I mean, we kept VGA in the classrooms for a long time when it was not really the standard anymore. So what does that look like? When is it time to remove those legacy options?
Oh, it I would say it is a slow rollout. Slow. Maybe a building at a time
Hmm.
or a floor at a time, which is very slow. At the same time, there are some instructors that is how they teach. They need some type of whiteboard, not only because it's easy to move through for them, but because of how long the whiteboard is on the wall. When there's a 10-foot whiteboard on the wall, they can use the whole thing up. And
Yeah.
then if there's another 10-foot whiteboard on the other wall, they can go over there too, where they have unlimited space. That has not been done every time, but there are two or three classes that is a norm. So we have to identify, hey, here's another way of doing it. Come into this classroom over here. Let me introduce you to how we are updating and upgrading our standards. And this room is our new standard. So I want you to come and get comfortable over here because what you can do over there, guess what? I have an interactive planar monitor at the podium just for you. Guess what? You can write on this, you can do everything. And if this room have a digital whiteboard, hey, we can go to the digital whiteboard. Guess what? You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can move it around, and you can share it with the class. You cannot share whiteboard material with the class once you erase it. So, how can we save what you're doing from the whiteboard where you can share it to your class via email? And when it's time for tutorials and things of that nature, you can refer back to, hey, here's the equation. Here's how we work this out. We have to show how this is functional, how it can benefit them, and how it can decrease a lot of unnecessary pressure that has become common to those instructors. So I think that's a possible way of doing it where you're not forcing them, but you're introducing them and saying, well, in the next year or two, we're going to be moving away. So I want to bring you in now. As a matter of fact, when you're writing your document for a class, your syllabus, come in here. Let's work through how you're going to do it. And when you're doing this particular presentation, this is another way that it can be done. As a matter of fact, if you have those that are virtual, how are we going to show those that are attending virtually what's on the whiteboard? It clashes with the camera. So guess what? Let us help you out and let's use this interactive monitor so that they can see exactly what's going on and you can share it with them.
Yeah. I have to say I'm conflicted to be honest because not to be that person, but we have some rooms where I mean we have the chalkboards on motors, right? Like the ones that go up, down,
Yep.
and there's another one behind it, and people love them. I mean, like it, I would hear about academic freedom infringement if those got taken away. So I think it's like if you can afford having multiple modalities of those, that I think is the best way. I mean, during a few years ago, there was a few overhead projectors walking around on campus, and not that I want to support those, but it's just like having that flexibility for folks. And I think it's just while I would love to standardize and like have, hey, this is the thing we're doing, I realistically I know it's just I won't win everyone that way. And so I have to have some rooms, I don't want to say left behind, but in that modality.
Now, Andy, I will share. I'm grateful that one of my teammates on the AV team came from the classroom, and he shares with us in our conversations and systems design and everything from the teacher's perspective, not the tech perspective, but from the teacher's perspective, they need this. And because of that, I totally agree with you. I do not believe we will ever get away from whiteboards. Can we use less of them?
Yeah.
Possibly, possibly. But I believe until we get the next 2 or 3 generations of teachers that are comfortable with using technology all the way, that a whiteboard will stay for the next 5 to 10 years. But again, once we start introducing, once they start getting comfortable, and maybe it's the interactive whiteboards, pencils or stencils are too thin because it's like a pen. I
Mhm.
wonder if these manufacturers would create the pens and stencils to feel like a marker. Would that help them psychologically to switch over where they feel that they're being as effective compared to writing?
Logitech does have a crayon. That's interesting though, because you do see thicker ones and stuff, but you don't see any that have a tip that kind of mimics a marker, and that's what so many are used to, or mimics chalk, which is even
Right.
Right,
more
Yeah.
difficult to
right.
write with, right? So that's an interesting kind of outlook that might change minds sooner. Um, Interesting to figure that out. I don't know. One thing Atkins said, and I think you guys both kind of answered the question already. But he says it's time to remove legacy options when the interactive display needs to go where the whiteboard does. So what does that look like? If we did not have whiteboards in the front of the classroom, what does that look like? Is that a DV LED wall with, a sensor in the front of it to make it interactive? Like it would like what are we doing differently if we have all of that space and don't have to drop a screen and throw a projector up?
So I'm laughing because we just did this install, and I know this is a judgment-free zone, but so we cut the chalkboard up and put it around the interactive display because that's just what they wanted. They're like, we
Mhm.
still want the chalkboard. We know you're putting the big interactive display. So it's baby steps. Is like, it's still having both of those options. So if they never want to use it, I know some of you are like, well, Lady, they're never going to use it if you keep doing it. I hear you. I got you. But it's again, it's that long game, right? Of building that relationship and that
Correct.
sort of thing.
Correct. Long game. That's what it is. That's all it is. Long game and trust. Um, when you look at the mindset and what they are comfortable with, we're introducing something that they are not comfortable with. For example, back to a COVID, people were not comfortable using Zoom, but because they were forced to, that forced and changed the mindset of everything. So this will have to be a much higher up call from the provost's office, more than likely, or the dean of that college or department, to make the transition of, all right, we're moving from this to this, and everybody has to be on board. Would everybody? Of course not. No, but once we make them comfortable, once they buy in. then it'll be easier. But we do have same thing here. We have classrooms where we have the interactive display on the whiteboard itself. There's a whiteboard around it, but it is right there in the middle of the whiteboard because that room was built with the whiteboard into the wall.
Yeah.
So in order to move that whiteboard off the wall, we would have to move the whole wall, redo the whole wall, do a new finish, and then put this up there. We put it on the wall where they can use the interactive whiteboard to share whatever they what would like to share, and whatever needs to be for the class. They go to the whiteboard and write on there. So again, it's a dual thing, but again, someone has to make the call. I don't believe it will be us. I believe our role is to be a trusted advisor to make
Yep.
sure we have the right equipment, that the equipment is going to be stable, it's going to be consistent, that we can provide support on the back end, and that we eliminate as many issues as possible. So when they turn it on or when they walk into the room, they can touch their button, they can grab their stencil and go.
Right on. Yeah. So I guess the next kind of question about moving towards these interactive digital whiteboards or even using a visualizer with a, something you can write on underneath, right? It's cost, right? A whiteboard,
Yeah.
when I put a whiteboard up on the wall, it lasts a long time. I don't need to think about replacing it every
Or cloud
5 years, every
subscription.
10 years, so what are those costs like, and how do budgets kind of shape the design choices and kind of the equipment choices when we're thinking about kind of moving towards interactive products like this?
That's a great question. I would say this should be part of your 5-year plan, your 5-year budget cycle. As technology updates every 2 years, but of course, when we don't have funds to upgrade every 2 years, here at Purview, we're doing a 5 to 7 year model. In year five, we're evaluating. Year six, we're getting quotes. Year seven, we're installing. Uh, so because of that, we're working to say, hey, the budget will provide this. We need to add this, as well as dealing with the prices and the tariffs and all that. Let's go ahead and just add 15% on all the prices that we have now. So we know how to budget for the next 2 or 3 years. Let's look at this model. If a standard interactive unit at 86 inches with the onboard PC is costing right at 4,400. Let's prepare for $6,000 each for the next round. And the next round of interactive units will have even more features with better stability and better mounting brackets and better this and better that. So just like we're looking at cycles for our classroom technology, this should be a part of that price as well, that budget.
I I think like for me, it's leveraging what's, the university is going to pay for it. And that's most likely a software thing, right? So like we're all out about the AI fluency at OSU. And now we have the Microsoft tools and the Google tools. So honestly, if it's something leveraging those tools, and maybe it's just, an annotation monitor, there's no software OS on it. Pick your poison of whatever vendor. Um, and it's just driving one of those tools. That's usually how we try to budget it because we want to, as John was saying, the 5-year plan. So if the students are expected to learn, whether it's Microsoft, Google, whatever the thing is, know that tool, then we should have a gigantic iPad or something that can run that sort of thing for them. And for the faculty so they can inform the students of those best practices. So I know I'm not giving you a budget number or anything like that, but for me, it's software is the biggest challenge, right? Because I see the cloud storage fees jokes in the comments, and that's not going to go away. So I think like having your hardware work around that, whether it's just a large annotation monitor to your local PC and then they can just open up the web browser and use the digital whiteboard function, whether it's Google Sheets, OneDrive, whatever, you know, that's kind of where my head goes into the future planning and design.
Right on. So I mean, we're coming down to the last couple of minutes here, so I just thought I'd give you both a chance to just, is there something, that, in your experience that you've seen that we didn't kind of talk about, during the last hour, and any kind of closing thoughts you might have. And John, why don't you go first?
Oh, wow. This has been fun. It has been an eye opener as well, because a lot of times we're not always thinking about what others are experiencing as well as what are other options. One of the things that I will share, and I'm going to be an advocate for this, is to continue the white glove service. Continue meeting people where they are. Gain their trust. Be honest. Let them know that anything is possible. Everything is possible. Does the budget allow it? No. So here's what we can do with what we have. For next year, we can look at budgeting for this. Your department can look at doing this and this and this. We have vendors that can help provide that. As a matter of fact, I attend a conference every year where I see new technology. I see what's coming out. I'm aware of what's coming out at the same time. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's best. So allow me to do some more research on these type of products for a good year of them being released. And now let's go into, all right, so I saw this product at this conference. I think this would be best or ideal for your environment. Let's look to see how we can include this. All right, software based, let's do it. Does everything apply and work together? No, it's a clash. Let's see what we can do. I believe that when we continue to be their trusted advisor and that we are meeting them where they are, we will gain their trust and they will learn to depend on us like never before and trust that whatever information we give them, that it is credible and that they can use it and run with it and the equipment will be consistent.
How am I supposed to follow that up? Um, like, so I'll keep it short because John did you just recapped it real good. You know, I think for me, when evaluating these tools, it's like it's not no longer just like this hardware does this thing or this software. It's selling you everything. Now your LMS does XYZ and has its own video conferencing stuff like that. And that's where I'm like, well, try to step back and just see what solution are you trying to fix, not all the solutions all at once. That's why we use a different system for different modalities and things like that. So that would be my takeaways. White gloves service, but continue the flexibility in your design and continue flexibility in your teaching.
All right, and looks like Travis has a question. So we got Travis.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you, I've never wanted so badly to be on a panel before. Um, Particularly, I wanted to ask about. So here's my biggest frustration, and I have told this to manufacturers when every time I get a chance to talk to them, is that we have a lot of people who are incorporating O365 into their digital whiteboard experience. And I find so far they all are clunky. And so there's one issue right there. But even if you get someone to the point where they're logging into their account and able to drag a file out, manipulate it on screen, resave it, all that, my biggest problem is actually security, because when someone walks away from that screen, 9 times out of 10, they forget to log out. I have been trying to find a manufacturer or get a manufacturer to get on board with the idea of making it something like maybe walking up with your phone, scanning a QR code to log into your O365 account. And then when that phone gets out of proximity of that by maybe 20 to 30 feet, it logs you out automatically so that the next person who walks in does not have access to your email, your calendar, and all your files. Now, granted, a lot of that is on the individual, but I feel like this is something that's being wholly missed out by manufacturers right now. Have any of you encountered anyone who's doing any? The closest I think I've seen is Prometheus. I think it does a card that you can program, but then you have to
Thank you. It
buy
does the
cards
same
that
thing.
manage those cards and all that kind of stuff. So has anybody found anybody doing something like that?
So when we got was the Windows Surface tablet, the big thing that they stopped making anyway. Um, that came with its own OS, and our IT team immediately reimaged it, and so it could have the group policy to stop doing that. And I know that's takes away the wow factor of some of those things. That's why you'll hear me like harp on, be like, well, then if they log into their own account, it acts like a PC, right? And so then it has the group policy, it has the timeout function. So if they walk away from the podium, whatever, and I know everyone here is like, why does it time out during my PowerPoint? I was like, well, you didn't touch it for an hour, so that's why. We just follow that group policy for all things, and I know that can get you know an issue if you're introducing Android or whatever thing in there. But that's what I would you know push on when you're talking to the manufacturers who are giving you the things like, hey, I need this to meet my image, or this needs to meet my IT security demands, and those sort of things.
Travis Purview follows the as a similar model as Andy as the Ohio State University. And one of the things that I enjoy about being Q is that they have a RFID card reader. And because our badges are currently RFID badges, I am currently working with my department to merge those two platforms so that the end user can walk up just like at the doctor's office, walk up with their card reader, tap, open, and go. Now, with being Q, I've been able to set a time limit that when there's no activity for 5 minutes, it shuts everything down. However, because of the group policy for the state of Texas, if there's no movement within 15 minutes, it automatically shuts everything down. So that's one of the ways that we are working with that concern, making sure that we're able to address it as well as make it easier so that everyone doesn't have to go log in. Now let me get my phone, do a MFA authenticated here. Let me go here. Let me do this. No, card reader. If the doctors and nurses can do it at the doctor's office, we can do it. Bam, let's go and move forward.
I would very much like to speak to you offline about that more depth because I have a lot of questions and I would love to see where that goes and maybe even assist with the testing or what.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
So that being said, I don't know if Andy and John, if you want to drop your emails into the
Yeah.
chat, and then anybody who wants can get in touch with you after the fact. Would appreciate that, and I guess that's kind of wraps it up. Thank you for the wonderful panel, and thank you everyone who is in the audience for joining us.